Welcome to DiceTillDawn and my second solo game review. And today I'm talking about a pretty old game, older than myself actually, and that is Sherlock Holmes, the Consulting Detective. This was first published back in 1981, I believe, and has been reprinted over the years a few times, and I think it is available right now, so you should be able to get it right now. And there's even talk about reprinting some of the expansions, which I'm looking forward to, so we'll see. But this is basically a set in the 19th century London and Sherlock Holmes' time, and you are one of the Baker Street irregulars and you try to solve cases. And this can be played from solo to cooperative and even a competitive mode, but I do count this as a solo game myself. I can see that the co-op might be very fun if you have the right group and the right place and time, but I wouldn't bother with the competitive mode. But solo is where it's at for me. What the game is it has 10 cases in the box, and basically you can play them only once, because once you know the solution there's no more like incentive to go through them again. Maybe in 10 years or so you can revisit them or so, but there's still a lot of content here, especially if you take your time with the cases and really enjoy them to the full. Basically what you are doing is deduction or choose your own adventure type of game, and you begin the game by taking your casebook like this. There are 10 of these and they are numbered from 1 to 10, and you are supposed to play them in sequential order because there are some small linking between them, so it's recommended that you play them in order, and also the time goes by further on, so they are chronological. But basically you have your casebook, and also you have some more resources available to you. One of them is the map of London, which you can use to maybe map the routes of the perpetrators, or see if there are some places nearby that are of interest or whatever you like. And there's even a time scale that tells you how long it takes to walk from place to place. And also you get the London directory. This is the same for every case as is the map, and this is basically a phone book, so you can look up, let's say you are looking for a tea room, and you can check it out here, and you see the address here, which you can then reference to the casebook. And also you get 1 London Times for each day, so for each case you get 1, and actually you can use the earlier ones you have already seen in the later cases. So for example, in the case 5 you could actually use the newspapers from 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5. And there's quite a lot of text in this A3 double-sided, and most of it is just great thematic, like marriages, births, deaths and sales pitches, stuff like that. But there's always something about your case, and it's usually a bit hidden, or at least not just plain in sight. Or if the main thing is easily there, then there's maybe some side things that are hidden somewhere in the text for you to find, and a lot of things about the side stories. But yeah, as I said, you take the casebook for your case, then you start with the prologue, and usually Sherlock tells you, or someone comes to tell you what has happened and what do they want to find out. Usually someone has been murdered or missing or something like that, and you get some basic information, maybe what has happened where, and where was the body found, when, and who found it, and who is the person, or stuff like that. And usually I have a notebook to myself, like a few A4s of paper and a pen, and no electronic gadgets please, and I just write everything down because it feels more thematic that way, and also it's easier to reference what you have found so far. So you start with the first things, like what has happened, and from then on you are free to do whatever you want. So let's say for example there was a murder. you might want to visit the coroner first and see what he found out about the body, or maybe what was the murder weapon or stuff like that. Or you feel like you might want to talk to the widow of the murdered man, and you can go check the directory for her name and or his name and check the address from the book. And for example, it might be 18 Northwest, and you look if there is a paragraph for that place, and if there is, you read the paragraph. So obviously this is just pen and paper, and you can't really ask, hey, where was he and what is he looking like? You just have to go by what the paragraph tells you. Sometimes it helps you, sometimes it doesn't, but you'll never know before you visit those places. And for each clue you use, you can again put things on your notebook and see what else comes your way. And basically you do that for as long as you think that you have solved the case, and when you feel like you have, you can turn to the end of the casebook and answer the questions. There are usually two parts. The first part is about the main story or the main case, and then there's a part 2 which is about the side missions and side stories which can come up during your investigation. And after that you can actually compare your score to a Sherlock score depending on how many clues you visited and stuff like that, but that's just beside the point for me. I don't really care about that. But yeah, so 10 cases and choose your own adventure type story. But why would you want to buy it? Well, first on to my positives. The theme and story is just amazing in this game. If you let it be, you can breeze through this and try to get a high score and maybe do it in an hour and just try to be as efficient as possible, and that's fine. If you want that, go ahead. But for me, the main part of this game is basically reading a great Sherlock Holmes story every time you play a case. I usually try to get a dark place. It's easy here in Finland because it's almost always dark, and maybe some candles and a glass of scotch, and reserve 3-4 hours for myself to really delve deep into this mystery. And that's the best part, because the stories in this book are very interesting, and once you start your investigations you have very little information. But once you start visiting these people, you find out more and more about them, and usually some other things, like maybe you find out that this guy is very suspicious, this must be the murderer. But yeah, a little bit further on you find out that he has an alibi and he can't be the murderer. But there's still something weird going on about him, and you really want to explore further, and that's the main thing I want to do in this game. I want to see all the side stories to their end and see that, okay, this guy is actually cheating his wife with his wife, and why is he where is he doing that, and who with, and maybe this guy is doing something else, and this guy is a robber but not a murderer, and all these things. And they are just great to read, because the world is just so different compared to this new nowadays society of electronic gadgets and cars. This is the 19th century, and it's just romantic in a sense, even though there are some gruesome murders and stuff, but you can really get your mindset to be in this world if you let it. So the best part, or the part of the game that I want to play. Okay, maybe some negatives I can think of. First of all, it is not replayable, so there are 10 cases and that's it. So if you feel like you want a game that you can play 20, 30, 40 times, then this is not it. But I can say that I usually play about 3 hours per case, so that's 30 hours of gaming if I take 3 hours for each case. And again, yeah, I think I could play them again in like 5 years or so, because there's a lot going on, so you just could actually enjoy them again in a few years. And yeah, then again, it sometimes feels a bit gamey, especially because, yes, it's written word, so you can't really ask the question you want. So sometimes you have a feeling that this must be the correct solution, but you don't know where to find the correct solution. So for example, which police officer should say something, and so it's weird to explain, but sometimes you can get stuck in that way, and it's pretty frustrating. But usually you can actually visit Sherlock himself and all these other helpers, which are actually summarized at the back of the rulebook for easy reference, and they usually push you on the right path if you are lost. But yeah, I think, and also I dislike the scoring thing. I think it actually detracts from the main attraction, which is the story. I can understand that many people want a game or so, but I think that if it is available and someone uses it, I think they are missing like 90% of the content if they want to get a score as high as Sherlock, which is almost impossible because he's a supernatural dude, I guess. But yeah, you can play that way, and I'm not saying you don't, it's all, you do what you want, but I do think that you would miss a lot of the story, because the story wouldn't be as fun even if you went back and read the whole book and okay, this is cool, but it's not as fun as when you are still suspecting that this guy is actually a criminal, but then you find out that no, he was actually just covering up for his guy that was gambling debt or something like that, and that was the reason that he wasn't at work or whatever it is. And it's not just impactful if you just read the small paragraphs later for the story, I guess. So you have to invest your time in it and really feel like you're exploring. But yeah, I think this is at best solo, as I said, because you can really take your time and you go wherever you like and there's no one questioning you. But I can understand that with a good group or maybe 2 players, your partner or something, it would be also amazing to really bounce off ideas of each other and really delve into this world. But that would need time and a nice place and like silence and all these things, in my opinion. But if I had people like that, that would also be awesome. But solo is great. And what else? I think that's about it. It's a great game. And one more thing, if you are not a native English speaker, beware, because there's a lot of old-time language in here and a lot of text, so you might miss things or miss clues if you are not speaking English as your first language. But if you are fluent in English, I think you will be fine. But that's one of the reasons that I haven't really introduced this to my girlfriend, because it's frustrating for me also to explain or translate things, although she's pretty good in English. But yeah, so beware of that. But all in all, a great game and a great story, and I can highly recommend Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. See you next time. Bye.